Israel has launched major airstrikes on southern Lebanon as Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah condemns this week's fatal exploding devices attack. Right before Nasrallah's televised speech, Israel confirmed fresh strikes. The device attack was said to be unprecedented. Back to the present, Israeli fighter jets are breaking the sound barrier over Beirut, causing major sonic bombs, according to reporters on the ground. We'll return to this later. In the meantime, one Israeli citizen has been arrested over his alleged involvement in an Iranian-backed assassination plot targeting prominent people, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to a joint statement by the Israeli police and Shin Bet, the unidentified man was a businessman with connections in Turkey who had attended at least 2 meetings in Iran to discuss the possibility of assassinating Mr. Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The statement adds, the Iranians proposed he carry out tasks for Iran, including transferring money or a gun, photographing crowded places, or threatening other Israeli civilians operating on behalf of Iran who did not carry out the requested mission. The Israeli man asked for a payment of $1 million, but Iranian officials refused the request, saying, however, they would remain in touch, paying him 5,000 euros for joining the meetings. Shin Bet said the latest arrest showed the efforts Iran is making to recruit Israelis to gather intelligence and carry out terrorist missions in Israel, including by using individuals with criminal backgrounds. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says the war is entering a new phase with the center of gravity moving north. According to him, we are moving resources and forces and energy in the northern direction. We haven't forgotten the hostages and we haven't forgotten our goals in the south. He adds that Israel's goal is clear and simple, which is to return all residents who have fled the country in the north to their homes safely. Mr. Gallant was delivering a message to a group of troops at Ramat David Air Base in Israel, did not make any comments about the wave of explosions currently in Lebanon. Let's return now to the updates on those pager detonations in Lebanon. Residents are on the edge right now after a new wave of walkie-talkies explosion killed at least 37 people and wounded 600 others. On Tuesday this week, 12 people were killed in the explosions, including 2 children. 90 people have been injured in explosions across Lebanon the past few days and are now receiving further treatment in Iran, including the Iranian ambassador Mojtaba Amani, whose condition has been described as very good by its embassy in its statement. The Lebanese army is now destroying suspicious electronic devices following the attack. ICOM director Yoshiki Enomoto, the Japanese makers of the walkie-talkies, say the 2-way radios that exploded may not have been genuine products, as they only resemble his firm's model. A former member of the Israeli Army's intelligence unit 2800 has said the attitude and innovative culture within the unit makes it one of the best cyber operations worldwide. Kobe Sambursky says the pager explosions in Lebanon now puts a spotlight on Unit 8200, a signal intelligence unit which morphed into a cyber operation.
In Israel, we have many threats around us, and the military is not as big as needed to protect the entire border, so alerting is super important. So the unit started with the main focus of being an alerting unit, classical SIGINT unit, signal intelligence unit, then morphed into a cyber operation, probably one of the best cyber operations worldwide. And of course, you can find there a lot of different professions from cyber to software to data, big data, AI, and more. Probably the most important part of the unit culture is a can-do attitude. So an attitude that says, no matter how big the task is, no matter how lack of resources I am and how much I don't have any idea how I can pull this off, everything that's put to my table I will be able to do. People get to the unit mostly at the age of 18, which is of course very young. They have 0 experience, so I would say more than 90%, 90-something% of people coming in the unit are very, very young. And also most of the people coming in the unit have no academic background at all. So think of trying to run an organization that is as sophisticated as a Google or Microsoft, or whatever, maybe even more, with all this rotation and with people being very, very young. I would say probably the average age is about 21 or something like that, which is crazy. Innovation is almost an integral part of the culture, and it's very exciting, specifically in our day and time where things are moving so dramatically. So whatever the organization learned to do, after a few years, you want to rotate it and you want to learn new stuff. So with this flow of new and very talented, very young and talented people, you get this almost automatically. Of course, again, there are challenges, but this part you get. So of course, I don't know anything about it, and even if I knew, I could not say anything. But to me, that's a great example of a can-do attitude. You know, if you think of, if someone would have told you yesterday or a day before this event that something like this could have happened, you would say, yeah, I don't think it's possible. It looks like something from a science fiction movie. I think those are exactly the kind of challenges that make such young people excited, and I think a great example of how smart minds could work to achieve a challenge that looks again crazy when you just think of it of the first time. I'm not an expert in in classic military, but unfortunately, we're still going to need tanks and airplanes and stuff like that, probably forever. But I think the part of technology and the part of cyber and the part of stuff that just like we saw yesterday is going to become more and more bigger and bigger as things progress, because the world is moving forward, and unfortunately also warfare is moving forward. So we'll definitely see a lot of use of more cyber and other way of advanced tactics and advanced technologies in the battlefield in the future.
In the meantime, Lebanese doctors involved in the treatment of the injured on Tuesday have been recounting their experience. Internal medicine specialist Dania El-Halak has described feeling numb. She said some victims had puncture wounds on their faces, while some others had their limbs amputated. However, due to security concerns, doctors are ideally not allowed to talk to patients or their families, as they are mainly members of Hezbollah.
As we were treating patients, just casually, just like any other normal day, we received one wounded patient into the ER, and he was screaming. He was with a family member. He was screaming that he picked something from the ground and it bombed into his face. We saw his hands, they were bandaged, they were all blood, his face was all bloody. We didn't know what to do. We didn't understand what was happening. At that moment, we started receiving text messages about pagers exploding. Again, we were scared. We had pagers in the hospital. So just like that, at that moment, all pagers in the hospital were shut down. Mission casualty, mass casualty incident was activated, protocols activated. And at that moment also, we started receiving hundreds of patients into the ER, and we started triaging and working. We saw young victims, and we saw very old victims, and all just had the same type of wounds. They had puncture wounds in their faces, they had amputated limbs, they had open abdomens, intestines out, bowels out. Unfortunately, there were wounds that we couldn't explain. There were ruptured eyeballs, there were fractured mandibles, fractured bones out. So basically, it was the first time I ever see wounds like that. I couldn't even classify some wounds or categorize some wounds. The hardest thing I saw was young patients completely blown out everywhere, with their bowels out, and I still have to talk to them, take their names, ask them about their allergies, ask them if they had any past medical histories that I should know so I can treat them. It was very difficult for me to witness.
Pretty hard to listen to her recounting her experience. And the United States remains involved in intensive diplomatic efforts to prevent an escalation of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. That's according to National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby. Kirby said the U.S. wants the war to end and every effort by Washington to make sure the conflict does not further escalate.
What I can tell you is we were not involved in yesterday's incidents or today's in any way, and I don't have anything more to share. We want to see the war end, and everything we've been doing since the beginning has been designed to prevent the conflict from escalating. We still believe, for instance, that there is a diplomatic path forward, that particularly up near Lebanon, and we still believe that while it is increasingly difficult, and we are certainly no closer to finality, that we're going to that we believe a ceasefire deal and a negotiation to get the hostages out is still the best outcome, and we're going to keep pursuing that. We're still putting our shoulder to the wheel to get the hostages home and get a ceasefire in place, as daunting as that is today. And we are still involved in intensive diplomacy to try to prevent a second front from opening up on that border with Lebanon. I think it's too soon to know if what happened over the last couple of days is going to have any effect on where we are with a ceasefire deal. Sadly, we aren't any closer to that now than we were even a week ago. So it's difficult to see any immediate impact of these incidents. We still don't want to see an escalation of any kind. We don't believe that the way to solve where we're at in this crisis is by additional military operations at all. On the tensions with Lebanon, again, too soon to know what these incidents are going to mean to the already high tensions between Israel and Hezbollah up at that border, the blue line specifically.
Back in Israel, hostage families have been protesting in Tel Aviv, demanding a ceasefire deal to bring back their loved ones. They've also shared the views about the detonations in Lebanon, saying they do not want war with the Iranian-backed armed group Hezbollah.
The escalation in the north is only tactics with no strategy. I think it's just another spin to help Netanyahu sabotage the deal, to postpone the debate on the deal. We know that if a deal is sealed, the tension in the north will de-escalate. We know it's a possibility, and we hope that our leaders will choose the life of their people, their own people, over their own political survival.
Don't care about what's happening in the north. We don't care about Hezbollah. War must be ended. A deal must come so we can go back and live our normal lives. Netanyahu, when you decided to sacrifice the lives of the hostages, you declared that you're no longer a legitimate leader of the state of Israel. We, the people of Israel, choose the lives of the hostages. We don't want an all-out, never-ending war. We choose life. Bring them